During the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on February 13th, Republican Senator from Arkansas Tom Cotton questioned U.S. Air Force General Gregory M. Guillot on the potential dangers of drone incursions posed to military operations, infrastructure, and personnel. Guillot responded, "Senator, the primary threat I see for them in the way they've been operating is detection and perhaps surveillance of sensitive capabilities on our installations." He added, there were 350 detections reported last year on military installations, and that was 350 over a total of 100 different installations of all types and levels of security. Guillot stressed the need for expanded authority to counter these aerial incursions. Unmanned aerial vehicles were spotted in multiple locations across the U.S. last year, with New Jersey reporting an especially high number of sightings. These drones were also observed over key military installations, including Joint Base Langley, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and Vandenberg Space Force Base. Ukraine's president issued a grim warning, saying that Russia may be preparing an act of aggression against NATO members as early as next year. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, Volodymyr Zelenskyy said, "Russia is preparing for a major military escalation, possibly targeting NATO countries as early as next year." He specifically pointed at Belarus as the launchpad for a potential future attack. Zelenskyy said Kyiv clearly understands what the Russians are going to do with Belarus. He added, "Russia is preparing 15 divisions. Around 100 to 150,000 troops are being trained to aggravate the situation on the Belarus direction. I am not sure if they will attack Ukraine, but they will attack. Maybe Ukraine, maybe Poland, maybe the Baltic countries." The 550th Helicopter Squadron at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana has reached a significant milestone in integrating the MH-139A Gray Wolf into the U.S. Air Force's nuclear security operations. The squadron's recent participation in the initial operational test and evaluation phase marks a crucial achievement. The IOT&E phase, which commenced with test flights on January 28, 2025, is intended to thoroughly evaluate the helicopter's performance in real-world high-stakes scenarios. Mandated by Congress, this process verifies the aircraft's operational suitability and its capability to replace the aging UH-1N Huey. The primary objective is to ensure the Gray Wolf can execute a broad range of missions, including those supporting U.S. Air Force nuclear security without any compromise in effectiveness. A People's Liberation Army Air Force J-16 fighter released flares 30 meters away in front of a Royal Australian Air Force P-8A Poseidon on patrol in the South China Sea. A statement from the Australian Defence Department expressed concerns, stating the PLA-AF aircraft released flares in close proximity to the RAAF P-8A aircraft. This was an unsafe and unprofessional maneuver that posed a risk to the aircraft and personnel. Australia expects all countries, including China, to operate their militaries in a safe and professional manner. P-8, which costs about $430 million, is one of the most sophisticated submarine hunting and warship tracking planes in the world. In response to a growing number of incidents damaging underwater energy and data cables and pipelines in the Baltic, NATO is intensifying its efforts to counter suspected sabotage attempts. While announcing a new NATO mission, dubbed Baltic Sentry, to safeguard the underwater infrastructure critical to the economic stability of Baltic region nations, Secretary General Mark Rutte stated, "We will do everything in our power to fight back, to detect what is happening, and to take the necessary steps to ensure it doesn't happen again. And our adversaries should know this." In this context, it is important to note that power and communications cables, along with gas pipelines, interconnect the 9 countries bordering the Baltic Sea, which is a relatively shallow and nearly landlocked body of water. Reports suggest that the Indian Navy will commission its 3rd nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, INS Aridhaman, later this year. This significant development underscores the country's growing maritime strength and its commitment to enhancing strategic deterrence capabilities. INS Aridhaman, part of the Aridhaman-class submarines, is designed to carry nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles, providing the nation with a vital second strike capability. The submarine is capable of carrying a range of K-series missiles with strike capacities exceeding 3,500 kilometers or 2,175 miles, allowing it to target adversaries deep within enemy territory from the safety of Indian waters. The induction of INS Aridhaman will further bolster India's nuclear triad, the ability to conduct nuclear strikes from land, air, and sea. A drone armed with a warhead hit the protective outer shell of Ukraine's Chernobyl nuclear plant early Friday, punching a hole in the structure and briefly starting a fire. Kyiv blamed Russia for this attack. Russia has denied this, stating its military does not strike Ukrainian nuclear infrastructure, and any claims that this was the case do not correspond to reality. The UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, said radiation levels inside and outside Chernobyl were normal and stable. But later, the plant's chief engineer, Oleksandr Titorchuk, said the possibility of radioactive substances leaking now exists. Fighting around nuclear power plants has repeatedly raised fears of a nuclear catastrophe. A United States Navy Growler fighter jet taking part in Exercise Bamboo Eagle has crashed into San Diego Bay. Early reports suggest the EA-18G from Electronic Attack Squadron VAQ-135, nicknamed the Black Ravens, was in flight when it developed a mechanical glitch. Details will emerge only after proper investigation. Footage widely posted online captures the moment the military jet smashed nose first into the water and completely disappeared from view. Thankfully, both crew members ejected, escaping the canopy just before the aircraft plummeted into the water. Speaking at a defense summit in Brussels, new U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. would no longer tolerate an imbalanced relationship with its allies and called on NATO members to spend much more on defense. U.S. has been pressing NATO members to spend at least 2% of their GDP on military. He also said it was unrealistic to expect Ukraine to return to its pre-2014 borders and downplayed the prospect of Ukraine joining NATO. Currently, Russia controls approximately one-fifth of Ukraine's territory, primarily in the east and south. The comments came as Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin held a lengthy phone call in which they agreed to begin negotiations to end the war. USS Harry S. Truman has been damaged after a collision with cargo ship MV Besiktas M off the coast of Egypt in the Mediterranean Sea. The U.S. Navy has released an image showing the aircraft carrier. The official caption for the picture is as follows: "Exterior damage of USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, viewed from a ship's rigid hull inflatable boat following a collision with merchant vessel Besiktas M, February 12, while operating in the vicinity of Port Said, Egypt. USS Harry S. Truman, the flagship of the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group, is on a scheduled deployment in the U.S. Sixth Fleet area of operations, supporting U.S. Naval Forces Europe-Africa to defend U.S., allied, and partner interests. As of now, it is unclear how this happened and how much harm has been inflicted.